Good afternoon, morning, or evening, wherever you are in this beautiful world. I am going to tell a story. Tomorrow I'll do a scripture reading, but today I'm going to tell a story. My primary reason for doing so is to record the story so that my grandchildren, someday when I'm not here, because that's the way life is, someday I won't be here, I hope that if they miss me, they'll be able to tune in to YouTube and find my story and hear my story one more time. And the story goes like this. Once upon a time, in a land far, far away, well, not that long ago, not that far away either, there was a little girl that lived in a log cabin way up in the mountains, and her father was a woodcutter. Well, nowadays, you call them loggers. And they were pretty poor. But Mom kept their mother kept the little cabin as warm as possible with a little pot-bellied stove that was always stocked with wood. And there was the snow to play in, and the big icicles that hung from the roof that were great fun to knock off and watch them crumble all the way to the ground. But it was the middle of the winter, and her parents were very concerned and tried to start preparing her that Christmas might not come this year. I'm trying to imagine how difficult it was for them to try to convey that message. That little girl was less than 5 years old. But she didn't believe them. You can't stop Christmas. Now, the father had friends that drove big logging trucks with the logs all the way down to the sawmills that way down in the valley. And so her mother and her father put a list together of things and supplies and that they needed with their friends that drove the logging trucks. And the logging trucks went on their way down the winding valley with the steep sides alongside the little creek. And Christmas Eve came, and it began to snow, which was not unusual. This was way up in the mountains. But it snowed, and it snowed, and it snowed, and it snowed. All night long it snowed. And her parents looked at each other and said, Christmas isn't coming this year. But she snuggled down in warm quilts and waited. Because you can't stop Christmas. And the next morning, the sun broke over the hills. The snow had stopped. And you could see billows of snow all down the little valley. Deep snow. And the sun shone on the snow, and it was like thousands and thousands and millions of diamonds. And the silence was perfect. It was incredibly beautiful. But her parents were really sad because Christmas hadn't come this year. And then, far away, there was a sound in all that silence. Woof, woof, woof. It was very faint at first, but it got louder, and it got louder, and it got louder. And then, way down in the valley, through those snowdrifts, there were thousands and millions of diamonds. You could see those logging trucks. Woof, 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 through those snowdrifts. And those crusty old friends of her father were driving through those snowdrifts, beating their way through those snowdrifts. 10, 12 miles from down in the valley, all the way to that little log cabin to bring that little girl Christmas dinner. But that little girl wasn't surprised because she knew, like grown-ups really don't, she knew you can't stop Christmas. And that's my story. It's my story for my grandchildren. And if you're not one of my grandchildren, my story is also for you. Not everybody lives in affluence, and sometimes it feels like Christmas doesn't come. Now, that little girl got Christmas dinner that day. I know, I remember. That was me. Not everybody has that. But all the same, you cannot stop the joy and the hope that is Christmas. Merry Christmas.